as a student organization, as a graduate student association, the purpose of this session is to ensure that all the students of the University of Melbourne who are enrolled in current programs, in the postgraduate education programs, have an opportunity to understand the processes that are involved in participating in the general election and ensuring that you exercise your democratic rights to vote for the appropriate elected student representatives. And it's also an opportunity for people who are interested in taking on representative roles, either on different aspects of the organizations, to be provided information and prepare yourself for the GSA General Election. So as many of you must have seen our website, and around this time last year in June 2020, GSA Council, with the support of its membership, introduced a new constitution and ensured that we are maximizing the number of students to be elected on our GSA board, representative council, and into the future, into the faculty council, to participate in the life of GSA and also be an integral part in influencing, advocating, and supporting the issues that impact our postgraduate students. So many of you who are not familiar with GSA or maybe a new student, GSA is an incorporated association. We're totally independent of the University of Melbourne, and our funding is received from the Student Support Assistance Fund, or the SSA SAF as it's known as, and those funds support the organization to help us run many engaging activities, either to support representation, student engagement, and the advocacy and policy work. So today, really, my purpose is actually to provide you information. As the time is limited and there is a lot of information, my role is actually just to guide you to understand where to seek information and how to be, how to navigate yourself through as a student to understand how you can participate. It is not a Q&A sessions where I will be able to tell you about the rules and regulations of the election, as once you read the Constitution, you would understand GSA has already appointed Stephen Lungs, our returning officer, who will be the person in charge of actually providing you all this information. So today, I think I want to just acknowledge the work undertaken by Tavita Lisuma, our Manager of Student Engagement, and his team in supporting us in developing this website. So many of you are now viewing the GSA UniMelb website. And if you see, we have the GSA General Election right on the front page that is there. And I am going to open that link that will allow you to navigate with me how the general elections are done. So if you should be a bit patient with me, but I'm going to help you do that. So when you click on that, you will land up on a website like this. And what that helps us do is actually understand what information is required, what are the schedules and forms that we have, what are the different positions that we have that are up for elections, and then finally when the election results and the AGM will be held. We've tried to use this method because right from 15 positions, we are actually going into having a board, a representative council, and faculty council. When they're all elected, about 38 members who will be participating at a governance and an advocacy level of the organization as student representatives. So I may just take you, and as I said, I repeat myself that today's information session is to actually guide you of when and how these processes happen It's not to give you detail about what's written in the Constitution or electoral regulation. That would be excellent reading work for you to do homework and read about it. And we do have a query form on our website, which you can kindly fill and send it. And either a staff member, and following the nomination dates, announce a nomination of the election notice, it would be Stephen Lungs who will be responding to your emails. I just want to let the participants know that this forum is not to canvass your candidature, to use the forum to provide any inappropriate information about one another or appropriate information about one another. It's a session which is really provided by GSA in a new format to ensure that we can maximize participation of our membership, either to vote and participate in our election process or to stand as a candidate. So I may just go on to the first tile or the first information session, and that is about our information session. So if you scroll down the page, the information here that is provided for you is actually as members, and our elections are normally held in May. The process starts from now, but the elections will be, I'll take you to the schedule later on. But there are some important documents that actually set the rules in the Constitution and the electoral regulation. So the information that's provided on this page, that is either the Constitution. So if you go onto the Constitution page, you will see that there is information that's provided about the Constitution. But just to give you an overview of our structure, it's our membership are the enrolled graduate students. And when we say enrolled students, when you're standing for election, you need to be enrolled and not on a leave of absence. And that's very important. So you actually elect 8 GSA board members, and those board members are the people who will self-elect the president, the Gen Sec, the vice president, and the treasurer. And there'll be 4 general other board members. We have actually, the board decides how many representative council will be there. And this board, current council members have decided to initiate with 10 student representatives. And I'll talk about it a little later. And following our general election after May, we will be holding 20 positions, 2 from each faculty, from each of the faculties, from the 10 council faculties, who will be our faculty council members. Now, I won't be able to spend all the time to tell you what each does, but I can help you navigate and understand. If you come to the information page again back, there is a range of documents which are important for you to read. Constitution tells you what is the purpose for which the organization has been set, and the membership determines what the rules and regulations are, and guided by the associations, by the incorporated associations reforms that are there. There are legislations that support us, and that's what is written down in the Constitution. So it's important, if you are a member, to be familiar with that Constitution. The Electoral Regulations is the rules and the guidelines on how the election will be held. And I encourage every member who is of GSA, if you are eligible to vote, to read it. And if you're standing for elections for any of the positions, please make yourself very, very familiar with the electoral regulations, because it sets guidelines on what the rules are in relation to the elections. The person who oversees the implementation of these elections are the GSA's returning officer. And we are, if you would like to just know that Stephen Lungs is our returning officer, who's actually kindly agreed to actually be an observer to this session, so that he knows very clearly that we're following the rules of the organization. So coming back to the electoral regulations, we have put the contact details of the returning officer. the returning officer's duty is to ensure we conduct the elections properly, decide on matters which are stated in relation to the Constitution and electoral regulation, and of course, to oversee his work. GSA employs, so there's a detail about it, and this year to improve our system, if there are any complaints that are related in relation to election, we've also established an online form that will ensure that your complaints are registered in a systematic manner and we are able to respond to it without any time delays. So these are the improvements that we've put in place to help you kind of navigate this new system that we're establishing of increased members' participation. There is, of course, my details there, the contact details of the CEO. My role is not to interfere with the election process. My role is to ensure that you're guided with the support of my staff to the right and appropriate place to seek the information or to resolve your complaints or to seek the best outcome. I may actually also inform you the current council members are not to be contacted in relation to any election, just to ensure there's a conflict of interest if they restand for election, and your election information should be either through our query form, through our complaints form, or directly contacting Stephen Lowndes or me so that we can support you in finding the information. Of course, to ensure that the organization is able to provide the, ensure that it's a fair, just, and equitable process, GSA engages 3 voluntary, highly reputed members as our tribunal members, and their role is to ensure that we've appointed the right returning officer, we're following the election process, we're calling for election, we're hearing appeals of the results and declare the results at the end of the process. And the details of these tribunal members are provided for your information. And I do want to say we're very indebted to them for providing a voluntary service that has been absolutely valuable to the organization so that we maintain a fair process. The most important thing in relation to the information session is that in the page of the information is just to understand, people would ask, is this a paid position? Will I be given an honorarium? If you read the Constitution, is currently the 15 members receive an honorarium. But from moving forward, we have put a proposal, and the memo of the proposal is on the website, which is, if you double click on it, you'll be able to find out. The honorarium memo provides the proposed honorarium that is going to be paid for the members, that is the representative council, the faculty council. Please take your time to read it whenever you get a moment. We are not able to guarantee you this at this time because it is at the time of the AGM that the membership will determine, the membership has to approve the honorarium, and it is not for the current GSA members to determine that at this stage. So I think that's very, very important for you to understand that many of you may ask, what will I be paid honorarium? You can see what we're proposing to pay. We cannot tell you the information of what the current members are paid because it is confidential information. It's available on request, but the proposal of what is going to be paid is there. And however, the decision of that honorarium will be made at the annual general meeting that is scheduled in the last Friday of the month, in the month of May. We have an online query form, and the online query form again has been designed to actually ensure that your queries, whether many of you are students, you'll be busy during the day, or when you have time, when you're filling it, you can definitely fill in this form. We will ensure that we get back to you as quick as possible. If you're not able to get a satisfactory information, you can always contact Stephen Lungs or me. We will be able to ensure that your query is responded, or please ring our 1-800-GSA helpline so that one of our staff members are able to give you a prompt information so that you can make an informed decision, either if you are a member and you have to vote, or if you are a student who's enrolled in the postgraduate program at the University of Melbourne, then you definitely are eligible to stand for the election. And if you read the Constitution, you will understand what positions are available to you. So I think for me, I would encourage people who are standing for election or people who want to know more about the election process to spend a considerable time on the information page, because I think the information page provides all of us a kind of a common platform to understand, you know, what are the rules, what are the regulations that support us in doing so, in helping us that we can maintain a good democratic process at GSA. I think the schedules and forms that are provided for you is just probably the most important thing. I think what would be of interest to you when you're listening to it is, when is this happening? You know, that's the most important thing people want to know. So of course, the nominations and the election notice, the returning officer will put the information there. But the election schedule is something I thought would be really helpful for us to understand. And please promote this information to all your friends and faculty members, because I think one of the key purposes for us in this term's election is to, post-COVID, to ensure that we get more number of members putting up their hands and wanting to stand for these elections, but also our membership participating in choosing the right candidate for this role. So I think the most important thing is we're here today. We are here for our session. The session is recorded. We put it on our webinar. We put it on our website. Our nominations will open on the 23rd of March, and the nominations close on the 20th of April. So you do have a considerable amount of time. But during that period, you would notice that after the nominations are closed, the returning officer will host the 2 information sessions for our candidates who have nominated and who've been selected on the 28th of April, and one on the 20th. We have, again, on the 4th of May, we have information forums that are open. And what happens is that, just if you notice, one of the information session is held just before the elections open, and one is held after the elections are open. But I do request candidates who nominate that it is required mandatorily for you to attend one of the information for candidate forums, and it's a requirement to ensure that you're familiar with the rules and regulations that are there. Our elections open on the 29th of April and they close on the 14th of May. And to allow, there's a fair process of counting that is there, that the elections will be closed on the 14th of May, and on the 27th of May, that is when you will officially take on the role at the annual general meeting. But the time lapse is allowed so that if there are any issues of concerns or disputes, the 7 days provision provides membership to, or candidates to kind of appeal the process through the tribunal if required. I think one of the wisdom that our returning officer said to us would be is, we encourage candidates who are standing for the election to actually ensure that you put in your nomination form at least a week before the closing date, because if there are problems in your nomination form, at least the returning officer is able to liaise with you, get the accurate information, and be able to ensure that you're successful in getting an accurate, an appropriate, you're meeting all the criteria and your nomination is eligible and you can comfortably stand for the election. So I think that's a really good information for all of you to know. I think the most important in schedules and forms is that, as I said, is keep looking out. You know, we've introduced an online nomination form, and I'm not going to go through it because that will be done by Stephen at the time of when he runs his nomination forums, or before that, we will also provide individual sessions. But I think the improvement of these info sessions that are there today, like today's information session, is to let you know that the organization has wonderful opportunities for you to participate in the life of this organization as a GSA board member, as a representative council member, or as a faculty council. But each of them has a specialist duty. So if you go to the GSA board website, we have provided a role description, and it'll tell you what the role is, where you can find the information about this on the website, how it's correlated to the Constitution. And I encourage members to read it properly, to read the Constitution properly, to read the position description properly, because they are director's role. And you know, there are criteria to be eligible not only at a GSA level, but you also have to fulfill the criteria of ACNC as well as Consumer Affairs Victoria. They are legal positions and there's a responsibility attached to it. And I am so delighted to say that I'm absolutely privileged to have 15 members who are currently serving, who are aware of those rights, who actually understand. They provide due diligence and support the organization to govern it properly. And it requires a considerable amount of time, and it requires a considerable amount of skill set. And I think the most important thing is, as an affirmative action, we always ensure that at least 50% of the GSA board members should be women. And I think that's absolutely critical for us to ensure, to address issues of gender equity, and to ensure that this organization stands by the values by which we adhere our processes to the values that we stand. Now, I don't think we should think the do-all and the end-all is when you become a GSA board member. Some of us have specialist interest, and the representative council actually allows you to understand that you can represent a particular cohort or a particular issue, and the details of those representative council are provided on our website. But I think it's important to understand that representative council job description actually is quite standard, where you are advising, you're a subcommittee of the board, and you're advising the board on graduate issues and the different portfolios. You know, like it could be a portfolio. Currently, we are advocating, the board has decided, the council has decided there are 10 positions, and the 10 positions, some of them are restricted. That means you need to meet the criteria. So some of these examples are an activities officer. Obviously, for the women's officer, it's a restricted, you know, because obviously, as the title says, the international officer, again, it's open to international students. Health and well-being is an unrestricted position. Families officer, again, is retained. And these are some of the positions we've retained from the current council. And of course, that is a restricted position. The LGBTIQ officer, again, we are potentially thinking of renaming it with the, the current good political dialogue that we're having about gender equity. That is absolutely important for us. And to also ensure that we have an education officer who is focusing on coursework. And of course, the best student you would have would be someone who has got a lived experience of being a coursework student. We've actually increase the capacity by having an education officer for research. And that is, again, a person who would have a lived experience as a research student or would be closely familiar with the issues that are arising for research students. We, of course, this year, we are absolutely delighted to have a new position to provide representation for Indigenous graduate students. And, we would like to work with bodies like the Indigenous Graduate Student Association, the National Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders, and the Islanders Postgraduate Association, and the different other strong community organizations that can offer communities, our organizations like our GSA, the ability to support representing the Indigenous interest and the advocacy. And of course, the final one, not the last but the least, but the most important one is, as an organization, progressive, absolutely committed to global issues and our community issues. The new positions in advocacy are in relation to sustainability of the environment. So for me, as a CEO of this organization, I feel absolutely delighted that there are 10 wonderful opportunities. It's a 1-year tenure. The GSA board is a 2-year tenure, but the GSA Representative Council, it's a 1-year tenure that is till May 2023. We have a detailed information about the position description there. But again, that requires time. It requires commitment. And many people would ask, so what do you want me to do? Do you want me to just come for meetings? No, the roles of the representative committee is just ask yourself, am I really interested in the issue? Do I have good connection with my cohort or the people, or do I have enough interest and the ability to go out and engage with my graduate community? Am I a patient listener? Do I have the time to be proactive and work along with the CEO and the staff and the GSA board to support the cause? Definitely you're the right candidate, and I'd encourage you to apply. But I think it is just not a role. If you have limitations, these opportunities keep arising. But I have definitely, from my 2 years of experience here at GSA, understood people who enjoy the role, people who are committed and who can make a difference, are the people who have put a considerable amount of thought into this work and being able to actually commit to it. Now, if you don't have the time to actually, and just to give you understand, the GSA board members meet once a month, but they also have several subcommittee meetings. And similarly, the representative council will meet once a month, and there'll be other subcommittees that you will be invited to participate on. If I'm just aware that many of you would want to know everything about it. Probably this forum does not provide you. It's just a navigating tool to tell you where to find information. Please ring the staff at the front desk or have a conversation with me, or ring us, and we are happy to provide you the information. But definitely, I would love you to be informed and engaged in the whole process, because I think it's a fantastic opportunity in the life of a postgraduate student to have an experience of being a part of a student-led organization. I think the most important thing is that for many of you, the issues are absolutely real in relation to at your faculty level, what happens at the faculty level. And the faculty council has been really put a lot of thought into it. GSA wants to strengthen our relationship to different faculties, and we know one size does not fit all. So following the AGM, and that's very important for you to understand, that following, it will be only held after May, we will be announcing 20 positions, 2 per faculty, and our preference would be to have someone who is representing a coursework issue and someone who's representing a research issue. And those elections will be held at faculty level, so only faculty students will be able to apply, vote for that particular member. Again, those membership is to work very, very closely with the GSA board, GSA representative council, staff, and with your faculty representatives and your, faculty staff to build the relationship, to ensure that our graduate representatives who sit on, more than 40 different work committees of the university are informed about your issues that are happening at the faculty level. So I think for me, the most important thing in what I've kind of experienced when I was working with the staff in building this website is we're giving you a considerable amount of time. If you look at it, we're looking at elections or nominations closing somewhere at, quite at the end of April. You have plenty of time to read the information, to get yourself familiar with the rules, be able to think through this process really, and understand, take a proactive role, because I think the aim and purpose is to give you a wonderful experience, but also for the staff to benefit and for your graduates who vote for you to actually benefit from having you being strong advocates on the road. Now, each of these members that are there, they are governed by a set of rules as per the Constitution. So it doesn't mean once you join the, board or the council, the board or the representative council, there are no rules to support. There are rules in the Constitution that govern your behavior, that govern the purpose of how you interact with the membership. There's a code of behavior that requires you as a board member or a representative council or faculty council, your views and values are important to the organization, that you believe in the process, you believe in the values of respect, you believe in empowerment, you believe in collaboration and engagement. And I think I'm delighted to say that we have majority of our membership who support and sustain our values. But it's a good thing to ask yourself when you put up your hand for these leadership roles. So following the elections, elections will be announced, of course, by our returning officer on the day when the votes are counted, but they'll be published on the website and information will be there on the website, on the AGM. So really, for me, to cap why I thought I'll start off with the website is really to understand today's session of you attending this information session is a beginning process. It's really a process for you after the session, the website goes online, live is jump onto our website. Our website will clearly tell you how you can navigate your way. If you're not familiar with it, you would be able to actually ask queries. You may want to consult with other people who have done this role in the past and be able to even canvass with your graduate students or your faculty and ask them, how well you fit into this role. And this is not just about how popular you are or how much you are able to. I think the most wonderful thing is it's a living experience for you to make a meaningful difference to the members of your community, and particularly post-COVID, because it allows you to actually be good advocates for this role. So I'm going to stop sharing this the screen, but I actually wanted to just spend a bit more time on actually understanding a little more closely what the different roles are. There's a GSA board, there's a representative council and faculty council that you're applying for. So the GSA board is really looking at 8 board members. The term is for 2 years. So post May, after the AGM, it's up to 2023, or it would be till the time you graduate. Obviously, after you graduate, you will not be eligible. You're not a member of the university. I mean, you're not an enrolled student. Obviously, then you can't be on the GSA board. GSA board also takes casual vacancies like we would do for representative council and faculty council, and those happen all through the year, but those elections are basically done by the people who are elected. So if a casual vacancy arises, the GSA board takes nomination through a returning officer, and they determine who the person is to fill in the term till the end of the term that is there. And the term is only till, if it is in the middle of an AGM, it's only till the term of the AGM, not the 2-year tenure, or if it's a 1.5-year cycle kind of thing. But I'll get Stephen at the time when he gives you information to give you much more clarity. I think I just wanted to give you a bit of a flavor of what the role is. The role is really to be offering governance support, which includes, giving support on what's the strategic direction of the organization, where should GSA go, being able to employ a CEO so that the day-to-day management of the organization is actually handed over to the CEO and the staff. It's not a role for you to come and undertake to do a staff role. So I just wanted, many people say, I'm really interested in the role because I love to run events, or I love to, I really love being on the GSA, to come and be a part of the GSA Council because I'd like to make a referral directory, or I'd like to do a project. You can be involved in that through being a graduate of this organization. The GSA board is very strategic. It's more focusing on the employer responsibility, like we give you training, we coach you into it. It's not that we just ask you to come and, there's ongoing embedded requirements of training and induction. You're required to attend board meetings. You're required to provide a report to the general membership of what you undertake every month. You have to be a fit and proper person. So you're required to undergo a working with children check and a police check, and which should not be disbarred by the Consumer Affairs Victoria or by the ACNC board. If you've been in any other organization and if you've been barred, you're not eligible. And kindly note that if you do have a police record which is related, makes you unfit for the role, even though you may be elected, you may be not barred, you may be barred from being on the board due to meeting those conditions. We've never had that occasion, but I think it's my obligation to tell you what the process is. It is a very collegiate role. It is not to muddle with the day-to-day management of the role. It's an excellent role to advocate. It's a role where you can be engaged with different stakeholders, where you can undertake advocacy work. And the skill set this year has been absolutely enriching, where people, next year we're introducing a new office bearer role of a treasurer to ensure that we have, somebody oversighting our CFO's work, and we are financially managing our finances with due diligence and prudence. We do have a vice president role, which generally focuses a lot on graduate group engagement. We have more than 150 members. The president, of course, apart from leading the organization, has a significant role in different committees of the universities, as well as external organization, and being a sounding body for me and my team. And the general secretary role is to ensure that the compliance of the legislation in relation to the constitution is held. Important roles, each one of them are important, but the president, GenSec, VP, and treasurer are not elected by the general membership, but by the board once they are elected. The representative council is equally exciting because it's a subcommittee of the board. And as per the constitution, they have, their role is, it is a one-year term role. It has certain restricted positions. It has certain unrestricted positions. The positions, our election as the nomination of a returning officer will give you further information on any restrictions that may be placed for certain positions. But it's a great opportunity if you understand the issues properly, if you have good connection with the cohort, if you are a person who wants to be engaged or who has the talent to, engage with people in your community, a great opportunity for you to work with the staff, with the board and the CEO to effectively support the staff to run good policy and advocacy campaign, to support the staff or be a part of good town hall consultations, major events that are it's not about for you to go alone and do it. It's to be in that advisory role and ensure the students are receiving the activities that best suit their need, be a part of policy submissions, media releases. It's not for you to do it on your own. It's to work alongside with the board and the staff to undertake this work. As I said, the faculty council is the same. It's 20 positions. They meet 4 times in the year with all the key staff and the board members and representative council. But it's a work where you are the liaising officer between the university and GSA, a two-way kind of building that relationship and collaboration to ensure that the concerns of the graduates are heard as appropriately in proper channels. Students don't feel disempowered by mechanisms and processes that leave them absolutely stranded. And also to give consideration that under post-COVID, people have lost the social connection. Some of them are overseas, some of them are in regional areas, some of them are just locked up in homes because that's the best way they can manage their children or their present circumstances. And it's like opening that door to kind of actually be able to be inclusive and accessible as best as we can. I think for me, the most important thing is the election process is as democratic as you want it to be. You being engaged as a member and being prudent in electing the right person is absolutely an important role, and understanding that you're taking the time to understand, what am I electing this person for, and do these people have the skill set? Because it is your organization, your funding is going to this organization, and you want this organization to be living its life beyond your period and continue to advocate for students for higher education. I think that's my absolute commitment as a CEO and my staff, that our role is not to influence you. Our role is not to say which candidate is more preferential. It's absolutely inappropriate for any of the paid staff to be participating in those processes. Complaints of staff can also be provided to the returning officer that would be investigated. Any current council members who may be using their role of power or influence to kind of navigate the process or misappropriate the process have the same rules. And the returning officer will be the person with the tribunal members who will ensure that we are following a fair and democratic process. And as I said, it's not about being a leader, it's actually being interested in the issue, being committed to the cause, and being able to dedicate the time to do so. So I think, we wanted to focus this more on an information session today. And as there is 15 minutes left, if you put your questions on the Q&A, if there's any question, I may be able to either tell you that I can answer the question, or I can say to you, you're very welcome to send it through query, or I can answer the question. But it's not a place where I will be able to give you, tell you what the rule is, or tell you to do it or not do it, because that's not my role. My role is to disseminate information. But I just wanted to once again, ensure that you are on the right website. If you go to GSA's homepage, it's just type in gsa.unimelb.edu.au. Right on the homepage, it says GSA General Election. You can't miss it at all. Encourage your faculty, colleagues who are studying with you to participate in the election, and also be able to ensure that you get the opportunity to do so. So for the elections, will people be able to run on tickets, and will all candidates be running as individuals? I will probably preliminarily leave that answer for that to be answered by the returning officer. But I think just as a rule of thumb, we have allowed people to run on tickets. And I have Stephen here who can respond to that if he would be kindly be happy to do so. But I know that you'll be running those information sessions.
Okay, so the GSA regulations don't allow for the registration of tickets the way the elections do. So you can't have the ticket name, next to you on the ballot paper the way that happens in federal elections or many other organisational elections. However, there's absolutely nothing to stop groups of people joining together and giving themselves a name, and saying, as a way of indicating to people that vote for these other people who I endorse. And because you get to submit 200 words that goes, that's hyperlinked from the ballot paper, if people want to say, I'm part of X and vote for all the other candidates of X, whatever the ticket name is, that's all completely allowed. You can do that, you can not do that, it's up to you.
Okay, thank you so much. And we will definitely provide further information about that at the nomination, at the candidate nomination forum. But thank you, Stephen, for being very kind enough to jump in and support with the answer that is there. Okay, so I think just, feel free to send your questions through the query form as much as possible. The most important thing is, you feel engaged and informed, and you have the right information to participate, and that's very, very important for us.